Hey guys. Okay, so in this video, I've talked a lot about um, Bigfoot locations. And as I said on the last podcast, I wanted to talk to you about how do I find locations, and all this other stuff. This location, Blackstar Canyon, I'm going to work on here with you, um, basically found me. Um, and I'll go into all that in a minute here. So, essentially, let me move this camera up just a tiny little bit. There we go. Oh, too much. Okay. So essentially, this is a Blackstar Canyon staging area. This actually is it's private. It's a private road, but this road coming in, coming all the way up here. If you keep going all the way to the end, you'll find a dead end. And this is about where the gate starts. We're not here. Nope, that is it. Okay. Just looks weird from here. Okay. So the gate must be right about here. And we'll talk about this area too. So a lot of Bigfoot reports in this area. I had a lot of sightings just in this area. I'll zoom out. So from where, let's see, where's that? Okay. Let me zoom out just a little bit more. Okay. From here, where the tree farm is, if you're familiar with this area, all the way up to where the bend is, and it kind of starts up this way where the mine is. I had a crap ton of activity in this area that I experienced. I went from a non-believer to a believer, and I'll explain to you why, what happened, what made me a believer here in just a minute. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about different areas. I'm going to show it to you. I want to give you an overall view first. So you can almost see. So this is California here. So this is part of the mountain range here. This is also part of the mountain range here. And this mountain range goes all the way down to the Mexican border. And this area here, this is Bigfoot territory. This is not, a lot of this is not actually, there's no human presence, let's put it that way, or there's very little human presence. There are reports from here, actually all the way up into San Bernardino, all the way over in the Angeles National Forest. And as you keep going, Los Padres National Forest, Sequoia. I don't think Sequoia has any actual reports. King Canyon, I don't think that has any reports. But you get back up in here. So like Shasta, Lake Shasta has a lot of reports of them. In this whole area, and of course, there's the Oregon-California border right there. And we all know Oregon and Washington have a crap ton of reports. But we're going to stick with this area here first. Let me get back to where I was. Where did we go? All right. We're going to go back to Orange County here, if I can find it. So, okay, hold on. Bear with me. We're too far, too far north. There we go. There we are. Okay. So you can see this mountain range right here. My cursor's going over right in here. Okay. Essentially, this whole area, this whole area, this whole area all have Bigfoot reports. In fact, this area out here too, very sparsely populated, has what they call desert squatch. Now, I don't know if the Sasquatch live out there or if they just go into that area because they are hunting food, or maybe they're migrating or what. But I do hear that there's caverns and stuff out here. So just so everybody knows, I'm sorry, this is going to be a kind of a long video. I'm not paying attention to how much time I'm taking. I want to make sure I go over this thoroughly, and I hope you guys enjoy this. Okay. Also, if you guys can take a minute and subscribe and click the like button and hit the notification bell, I'd appreciate it. Okay, so we're not going to really talk about this area at this point in time. This is there are reports all through these mountains of Bigfoots, but we want to actually stay up in the area where I used to live, because this is my kind of old hunting ground, if you will. This is a place where I used to do a lot of research. So Lake Forest, that's where I used to live. Here's Silverado Canyon. This whole area seems to be a hot spot for activity. Where's the 91? Doesn't even show in here anymore. 215. Where's the 91? Maybe it's a 215. Okay. All right. So it's the 215. This is a pretty major highway. This highway here has about, last I looked, and this is based off of 3 or 4 years ago, has at least 4 to 6 lanes of highway each way. Bigfoots have actually been seen crossing across this highway to go over here. Also, they used to be seen in Corona too. They called it the Roadster Monster or something like that. There was an old racetrack out in Corona, and essentially there was a Bigfoot that has, in the middle of a race, like they're racing cars, comes running across the track and then basically runs back over and jumps out off the track. And it was seen by a lot of people. So, anyways, this whole area has a a lot of hits regarding Bigfoot research. Unfortunately, I deleted all of my pens. I had, here, I'll just show you something real quick. See all this? Most of this is Bigfoots. Idaho, I have kind of started tagging Washington and Oregon, and then just other states where there's activity. You get the swamp ape out, or the skunk ape out here, and then a lot of other places like the forests up in Virginia and Tennessee and stuff like that all have a lot of reports of Bigfoot. Appalachian Trail, I should say. All right, so let's go back. We're just going to talk about Blackstar Canyon, because this is where I got my start into Bigfoot activity. And this is basically where I essentially had my first sighting. So I talk about this all the time. I know you guys have probably heard me many times, but so let me talk to you about some things that Bigfoot need. They need shelter or cover, to move around. They need water. They need a food source. They need, a way to migrate around and kind of be left alone. Some of these places, some of this area, there's old mines up here. Most of them you wouldn't want to go into, like in Trabuco Canyon. If you look up Trabuco Canyon, there's old tin mines up there, and they're full of methane gas. Blackstar Canyon, which we'll talk about the mines in a minute here, is known for the Blackstar Mining Company. That's where Blackstar Canyon got its name from. They mined low-grade coal from these canyons, plural. And they also mined in Silverado too. If you go up actually Silverado to Silverado Canyon, there's a lot of old historical homes there. A lot of them are still there from the mining that happened. And then, I go up there every once in a while because I used to go up there every once in a while because I wanted to check out the canyons. They're extremely high. If you've seen that one picture of Amanda and I standing with the valley in the background with all the trees, that's this area over here. And I believe Silverado Canyon, let me see if we can see how it looks. Amanda and I have been up on top of these mountains and essentially looking down. This is kind of what we saw when we looked down. But this is also Bigfoot territory. This whole area is pretty much Bigfoot territory. Again, I want to get back into Blackstar Canyon. Okay, so I said they need a water source. Here's Irvine Lake. Now, Irvine Lake used to, let me zoom in on it, used to come way out over here to about here and come back. As you can see, there's still some remnants of some of the water. And then this has now become almost like a pond. It was huge. for a little lake. You can see the white part of the dam. You can see how far down it is. It used to sit right up at that tan level right there. So it's down probably 20 feet maybe. All right. So, and you're asking me, okay, why is that important? And I'll explain that in a minute here. What you also have, you can kind of see the remnants of a feeder river that kind of comes down in here. That's the Santa Ana River. And I'll explain that as well as we get going. It kind of comes down through here and then goes back up this way. All right, so let's start at the beginning here. So Amanda and I, or myself, I used to just kind of park on the side of the road here. And the reason for that is I used to hike some of these mountains. I'm going to put this guy down here so we can look and see what the road looks like. Okay, so if you're looking at the road, and turn it this way, because this is the area I was interested in. We were doing some research and we could see with the night vision binoculars, there was something or someone's walking along this hill. But when I zoomed in and cropped in, they were hairy, very hairy person. Pretty sure this is Bigfoot. So they've been actually seen along this ridge. The reason this ridge is important is because it's a high point and there's a walking trail up there somewhere. The hills behind it also have these walking trails, and it just makes it so much easier to traverse instead of bushwhacking through all this crap. In fact, there's a trail right here that goes around and goes up there. Sorry, trying to move the cursor a little bit. On this side, you have the tree farm, the Christmas tree farm. And then as we go down, we'll talk about these areas down here as we go. So let's go ahead and cruise on down here. All right, so let's keep going just a little further. I've updated these pictures. Okay, so we're going to go past Baker Canyon all the way down here to the other parking area. Bear with me. All right. So this is the other parking area. As you can kind of see, bear with me, this here is sloped and it's at about a 45-degree angle down. And then down here, you can kind of see where the arrow is. You can kind of see where the creek sometimes runs. The water runs downhill into Irvine Lake when it actually rains. So you basically, supposedly over in this area somewhere, there are caves. And supposedly Bigfoots really like caves, so they're going to be in this area somewhere. If there are actually caves, and we'll talk about an area down here where this creek runs in a few minutes. All right, so let's zoom back out. I actually want to move down just a tad. Okay. Move just a little bit more. Okay, so this is essentially where Amanda and I were parked. That one time we got the eye shine. Looks like they've kind of created some kind of a dam over there that was not there the last time I was there. So essentially we parked backwards. And the whole idea was for us to be able to document anything that was going on behind us. Because a couple of times in a row where I parked, I heard something like tap the back window and all this other stuff. Now, Blackstar Canyon is very well known for being haunted. So essentially, and it is haunted. I've done a lot of ghost hunting up here. There's shadow people, there's spirits, and other things. I mean, this is a place where, honestly, I mean, people report UFOs. They report. Oh my gosh, they report so many things. So anyways, and other crypto creatures besides Bigfoots. So anyways, I put the camera in on a tripod facing backwards, and it was really cold that night. So I went to go grab something on the back, and you see Amanda kind of come around. If you watch the video on our YouTube channel here, you'll see it. It's very, very brief. You'll see something basically walk this way, come up this way, and this brush is a lot higher than it looks. And basically, you'll see them blink. So if you were down here, you have to be about 8 feet tall to be at the eye level of that. Essentially, what happened was it kind of walked up behind us, and I heard something rustling behind us, and then maybe closed its eyes. And then as soon as I turned around, it opened its eyes really quickly, and then maybe closed its eyes again and ducked down. So that was one thing that we had happen in this area. All right, let's actually go out up here. Because I want to move forward. Okay, so this is a staging area. I have actually been over on this little other road down in this area all the way to the end. And essentially, this is where basically it stops and we turn back. But this is all private property. Anything off of this road here on either side of this road is basically private property. There's an old ranch that basically is gone almost, and but it's still in use by the previous owners. So, okay, let's sneak back to the area I wanted to show you. So if we go up here, so you can see that creek. It runs all the way across here, runs all the way up here, runs down here, up this way, and then keeps going, and then runs all the way down into this wash. And this would have been the lake before. And again, I'll tell you why this area is important here in a minute. We've had a couple of sightings over in that area. So anywho, let me get back to where I want to get you guys to, so I can tell you about my first experience. This might actually be it. Yep. Okay. So let me drop Mr. Guy here down. Okay. So I need to move forward just a little bit. Yeah. All right. So no, we're too far. Let me go back just a tad. Bear with me here. Okay. One more, actually. All right. So I have no idea why this is a blur. I wonder if they blurred something out. Makes me wonder what was right here. Okay. So let's crop in. All right. So maybe even back one more. And the blur is gone. All right. So I want to zoom in just a little bit. Okay. So my car was parked right about here on Halloween night. This is God, 10 years ago, maybe a little longer. And essentially, I had about 30 people behind me, kind of in a horseshoe. And some of the people were standing over in this area. And one of the girls goes, "Hey, Matt, people are throwing rocks at us." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And so essentially, I took the 6 biggest guys and we walked over. Let me go back to the fence. Walked over to this barbed wire fence. And this actually slopes down, so we couldn't quite go all the way to the fence. But we were standing there and it's dusk. And essentially what happened was I turned my little miner light on and I started over here. I started looking here and slowly but surely moving my light this way. And as I got to here, I kid you not, there was this massive thing standing there. Silvery gray hair, had to be 12, 13, 14 feet tall. I'm a big guy. If you've seen our videos, you can see how big I am. That thing, the arms on that thing were as wide as my torso. I mean, basically, I would have been one of its arms. Huge, massive head, looked like a watermelon. And it just basically stood there while I shone my miner's light on it. And we were having a staring contest. And essentially, I don't know how long went by. It seemed like a couple of minutes, but I'm sure it was only like 20 or 30 seconds. So we were standing there and essentially looking at this thing. And someone goes, "Hey, go get a camera." So I ran and got the camera. Instead of grabbing the Sony Candy Cam, I decided to grab my Nikon camera, thinking I could get it on camera. I put it on low light settings really quickly, pulled it up, and this is a little cool pic. So it's not like it has a huge flash or anything. It's not a professional camera. It's just a camera I use for ghost hunting and stuff like that, documenting footprints, whatever. So I took a picture of this thing, and the flash went off, and this thing just squinted and went, oh. It was standing here, and it came to reality. I'm like, oh my God, this thing is going to come to, just rip us to shreds. And it didn't. It just went back to just standing there. And so the staring contest continued. And we're basically watching this thing. I mean, this thing was got to be 6 feet wide. I mean, it took up this whole area. And it just stood there. So I stupidly took another picture, and it just grunted at us again. And so then we went back to staring contest. Well, back in the day, maybe this is the tree, I'm not sure. There was a tree right in this area. This branch was not here. There was just this was all clear. This is probably a very recent photo. So this tree was probably about 6 to 8 inches around. It wasn't a huge tree, but this thing walks behind it, and it looks like a toothpick. And it grabs it with both hands. And I had no idea back then that they shook trees or did anything like that. And then just stood there. And we're like, okay, that's weird. It's silvery gray. It's standing out like a, marshmallow standing behind a straw, like an orange straw. And so I said, we can still see you. And then it got really mad. It growled at us, and it stomps off behind this way. Boom, boom, boom. The ground shook as it walked. Insane. Anyways, okay, so that's that spot. Let me get back out of here. Let me close this back out, and we'll go back to the regular. Okay. So let me see where we're at. Okay. All right. So essentially, if you park down here at the trailhead, okay, so this is the trailhead. I want to talk about this for a second before we do anything else. Okay. So this is a big open field. It looks small, but it's a big open field. I've seen deer over here, and in this canyon, there's mule deer. And these deer are not small. They're big. They're 200, 300, 400 pounds, some of them. I've seen an 8-pointer, a 10-pointer over in this area, just sitting there eating. And they're not afraid of anybody because this is a protected area. You can't hunt here. So essentially, this area is a big open flat area. Let me zoom in a little bit. You can kind of see the old remnants of the ranch, and maybe when we go down, you'll be able to see it more. Maybe they cleared it out, but there used to be an old fence here in this area. And this is where I had another sighting. If you've ever seen the Patterson-Gimlin film, this is exactly what happened to me. Okay, so the gate is here. And let me actually make this so you guys can kind of see what I'm talking about. Let me drop him here. Okay. So there's the gate. You can't drive through it here anymore. You have to walk around this side and keep going. And we'll talk about up here in a minute. So essentially, I was walking out, and I just felt like I was being watched. So I had a very high power flashlight on me. One that can basically, I think it was almost 2,000 lumens. And so that's basically almost the same brightness as a normal headlight, not an LED headlight, just a normal headlight. This was an LED flashlight. So I start shining the light over here to see what the hell is over there. And as I scan across, I get to about here. Whoops. I moved us down a little bit, about here. And I'm up by the fence. Let me move this down just a little bit. Okay, so I was right about, bear with me, about here. And I spotlight this thing standing in the clearing, and it's could be more than 6 feet tall. And it was about my height and built. It was just all brown, solid brown, just like a darker brown color. And essentially, I spotlighted it, and it just stood there and looked at me, and I'm looking at it. And then finally, it takes one step to about here. It covered about 6 feet in one step. It was insane. But as it did that, it turned its whole body, upper body, with its arms spread out both ways, kind of like doing an Egyptian, and just looked at me. And I'm like, okay, what is going on? And then basically almost stopped in the middle of its steps, looked at me, then of course turned around and started walking up here. It walked up out somewhere out here somewhere. Now there are trails behind here. Behind all this trees, there's trails back here. In fact, there's a trail that comes up right across here somewhere. Amazing views. I've walked up here before. And I actually have found footprints up here too. Was out doing non-Bigfoot, non-paranormal stuff one day, helping out, and essentially found a huge footprint, probably at least 18 inches. And I still have a hair sample I found right next to it. It's silvery gray, looks very close to the Bigfoot I saw. It's just a big clump of hair. Now, that could be from a raccoon, it could be from a possum, it could be from a coyote, it could be from a Bigfoot. Who knows? I never got it tested because it was very weathered, and I don't know if there's anything to it. Maybe one of these days, if I can find a local person to actually do DNA for me, we'll have them take a look. But I picked it up with a bag. I was very careful and put it in, and kind of nonchalantly kept going on my hike. Anyways, all right. So, all right. So that's this area. Now, this area, as you can see, it's kind of a rocky outcrop. Let's scoot down just a little bit. Excuse me. This is at least 20 feet tall. What's interesting about this is you can walk up this way, walk up here, and the back side of this, it slopes down again about a 45-degree angle for about 6 feet. So essentially, you could stand up there if you're about 6 feet tall and look over this edge or be crouched down or whatever. Nobody could see you. It's the perfect place for people to go, for a Bigfoot to be sitting there watching. All right, so as we go through here, as we go around the corner, you can see there's a line of trees. This bankment continues, and we'll get up and out of here. Unfortunately, from here, I can't show you. I'm going to scoot back down to the gate. Okay, so this is the aerial view of where we were. So you can see there's a lot of paths that have been woven through this area. And this one kind of goes out here into this. This is part of the mountain up here. Up here, you can kind of see part of the trail. There's a trail that comes across here. This is essentially where that Bigfoot was walking to. Where is it? Right here. So this is where I saw that Bigfoot and essentially started walking out this way somewhere. It could have easily turned back and come up here. And like I said, you can go up here and people can't see you if you're standing back 2 or 3 feet. In this area here, right about here, we were walking one night. I had a tour going. I used to do ghost tours out at Blackstar Canyon. I had a lady that brought her own night vision binoculars, and she was walking down here, and she got a little ahead of us, and she was actually scanning this way, and she turned and looked up into the trees because she heard noise, and she screamed bloody murder. I'm like, oh my God, what the hell? Is there somebody up there with a gun or something? And essentially what she told me was that she saw a big hairy thing standing there looking back at her, and she was sure it was Bigfoot. And what I always tell people, and you probably have heard this 100 times from me, you have to have an experience where you can say it wasn't anything else but a Bigfoot. And that was her experience. She experienced something that she couldn't describe anything else other than a Bigfoot. It was about 8 feet tall, brown in color, supposedly was dark. So it would have looked dark anyways, even if it was light colored. But it basically, as she saw it, it had two red eyes and then basically backed away from her. This is an area where we've had a lot of activity. Never had any sightings up here, but I could hear them moving around up here. They were watching, and I think they were juveniles. I think they basically were just supposed to keep watch and stuff like that. Had a lot of rock clicking. This is where I was. Let me come out here. This is where I was when I had the rock clicking. I don't know if they click rocks together, or they click their fingers together, and then this god awful scream came from down the way. Another scream. A couple of friends of mine, and I were here from about midnight till about 4 a.m. We were walking out of the canyon, and we were right about here. We kept playing Bigfoot calls, and we got this god awful scream that came from up here, and it reverberated off our chest. It was creepy. By the time I realized, hey, get your camera on, it was too late. This here might be the remnants of one of the old cabins that was out here. I've never actually seen that before, so just wondering. Anyways, another thing happened. We're up here, and if you go to our, I think it's Soundhound account. Can't remember exactly what the name of the audio account is that we have. It's on our website. If you go to our website, you can hear Bigfoot screams that I've recorded from here. We're up at the gate doing the ghost hunting tour, and the coyotes just start going nuts. And so every time they would scream, I'd play a Bigfoot call. And I was recording it with my phone, with my audio recorder, and playing Bigfoot screams with my phone. And kept doing it back and forth for almost an hour. We never heard anything. We didn't really know there was anything there. But when I listened back to the audio recordings, in between the scream, in between the howls from the coyotes and the screams of the coyotes, there's this loud, it's a howl. Oh, and it just it's really loud, but it was distant. I'm pretty sure that call came from Deer Canyon, which is over here somewhere. This area, I would imagine, probably has, oh, I'm sorry. That's San Diego Canyon Road, isn't it? Anyways, it came from this area over here. We heard it come from this area or this area over here. These are also mountains. Oh no, sorry, my bad. So it came from over in this area somewhere. It came from a couple miles away. This is what they call Deer Canyon, I believe, right here. There's a lot of coyotes over here, a lot of deer. I've hiked up in this area. There's a lot of deer tracks and a lot of coyote tracks. Anyways, let's get back to where we were. So, unfortunately, this little guy doesn't work at this point past where the gate is. So, again, the creek comes around here. We've also had sightings of something down here. Don't know if it was a shadow person or if it was something else, but something walked down into here and disappeared. We couldn't find it. Sorry for the dog barking in the background. Tinky, Tink. So, anyways, coming up here, essentially you just walk, and we'll get to an area where I had, I believe, my very first sighting of a Bigfoot. So this black thing actually is a telephone pole. Okay. We were about 40 feet from this telephone pole, and this is actually still, I guess it's still a clearing, but there's a clearing here. This is god awful. This is like 12 years ago. So we were standing here, and we see this thing. It's about 6 feet tall, crouched down. It was at least my height, crouched down. And so we just stood there and watched it. There was about 8 of us. We were actually just, it was our first time at Blackstar Canyon. We didn't have anything. We had like an old disposable camera. We had some rope. We had an old rusty knife. One flashlight that took 2 AA batteries, old cheap plastic one. We didn't have cell phones. We didn't have anything. We were, geez. Well, I think maybe I did have a cell phone, but there was no service up here at all. This is just showing my age. Anyways, Let me cross out of here. So this thing stands up, literally stands up and 3 steps this road. This road is pretty hard to cross. I mean, it's a single lane highway, or it used to be. It's a single lane road, but it started here and ended up over here in 3 steps, which is quite a distance to cover. I've tried to do it. I've tried to stretch my legs out as far as I can. It takes me about 4.5, 5 steps to get across here. So whatever it was, insane. Walks in behind this tree here and then basically disappears. Now, since I've been doing this a little while, I know that there's actually a trail up here. It actually kind of goes up here like this and then goes to here. And again, the high ground. Basically, this goes up here and then goes around to where the mines are. So you can get to the mines from up here. In fact, this is one of them here. So this is like just a easy highway for the Bigfoots to basically go around. They can move around quite a bit really easily without anybody really seeing them. So also in this area, I found a blind that looked like something had basically hollowed out a tree, put some extra branches in this area under some of these shrubs, and some other sticks were in there, and a bunch of foliage was down there and stuff like that. So here's one of the actual real trail that goes up that way. So again, that's private property. We weren't allowed to go up there without permission, so we didn't. Coming down here, okay, so this is an area I told you we talk about all this trees. This is where the creek comes through, or when it actually rains in California, which isn't very much anymore. So essentially, what would happen here is we would stop here, and we were seeing things move around in here. I believe this might be an area where they're bedding down. It's a very secluded, it's in between the 2 roads. Almost nobody's ever on this road. And people come walking by here. You could be standing over there, nobody ever see you unless you moved or made it obvious that you were there. So essentially, we've seen them over in this area. I have had a pair of night vision binoculars, and I was able to see them moving around, darting around over here. I think that they basically use this area because look where it goes. And again, remember, Irvine Lake used to be up in this area. There's cover all the way down to basically where the water used to be. The water used to come up this area. Water was all the way up here. So they could sneak along here and along this outer bank. Nobody would ever see them. And, get water, get food, go fishing, go swimming. Supposedly Bigfoots know how to swim. I can't confirm or deny that. There also used to be a campground in this area, and somebody reported that they saw a juvenile Bigfoot swinging from a tree at this location. So I actually contacted him. The author of that story, he told me it's 100% true. And essentially, now he researches Bigfoot himself. Okay. So let's keep going up the road here. All right. So not a very good representation of it. In fact, I heard this is gone. This is an old creepy tree that burned out. If you've seen the original movie Poltergeist, where the kid is in bed and he's terrified, he tells dad, "I'm scared." And then essentially the tree reaches in and grabs him, pulls him out, and tries to eat him. That's this tree. I swear that was this tree. It looks just like it has a mouth and everything. Unfortunately, it's gone now. But okay, so we would come walking around this corner, heading up the fire access road. And we could see, this is the other side of the creek. Sometimes when this runs, this was basically running at that point in time. There was just very little water in there. And it just rained a couple of days in a row, and there was actually some water in the area. So we were kind of walking around this corner, and all of a sudden we hear a rock come flying over and hit this side of the hill. This is actually a hill here. It essentially slopes down. It goes up pretty high. Goes up maybe 30, 40 feet in elevation. So rocks are flying at us from over this way. We're getting grunted and growled at by something over in this area. And essentially, I'm pretty sure it was a Bigfoot. They basically were trying to get us out of there. And these things happened over like an 8-year period. So the reports I'm telling you, I'm just kind of showing you the areas where I had activity. If you're interested in the Blackstar Canyon area and you want to learn more, please contact me. I'll be more than happy to show you some hot spots. But my theory was, and again, this is just my theory, this is all based off my experiences. I don't expect anybody to believe anything I'm saying. I'm just sharing with you my experiences. I believe they use this as a highway because it's down in an area where you can't really see much. You can walk right by here. There's a huge barbed wire fence that comes around here. So it's very hard to get down there. Okay, so another incident that happened. As we got down around this first corner, I think right about here, a different night, different people. I had about 6 people behind me, and all of a sudden we hear what sounds like shotgun shots. Boom, boom, boom. And I was not a believer at this point. I had not had my first sighting. And there's these huge oak trees that are down in this area, and they're pretty big and old. And so I'm like, oh my God, somebody's shooting at us. I'm looking at myself. I'm going, okay, I didn't get hit. I'm turning around. Everybody else, okay. We're all like almost laying on the ground at this point. So we started to get back up and bang, bang, bang. But it was different. It sounded more like a wood hitting wood. And I'm pretty sure that they had hit a tree with a tree branch or something, maybe even their hand. I don't know. But then all of a sudden you hear boom, 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 like something was walking away. It walked down here, probably back into this creek area. All right, so let's move on to the next place because I don't want to make this video too long. Another place that we had strange activity was this area here. You could kind of look out, and the creek comes right next to it. You could see broken tree branches hung upside down 40 feet in the air. And these weren't not like small trees. They were big trees. Tree trunks like snapped off about 4 or 5 feet, maybe no, more than that, probably about 10 feet in the air, and then hung from the other tree branches up about 15, 20 feet in the air. So I have no idea how that happened. But there was a eucalyptus tree that runs along this creek as well. And the branches were snapped off 15, 20 feet in the air. So that just tells you something. Let me just go back real quick because I need to tell you guys about one more experience I had. Okay, that's the trailhead. Let me go back here. Right around here. Okay. Let's see if I can drop this in. Oops. Didn't mean that. Let me see if I can drop this a little bit back down in here. Okay. So where is that one tree? Might have been this tree. So one night we walked out, and I'll just use this tree as an example. Excuse me. So essentially we were walking out one night and we were standing there just chit-chatting, and I look over and there's this huge silhouette standing behind one of the trees. These trees are at least 15 feet high, if not more at that point in time. They might be taller now, but I could see something standing behind it, and it was massive. I could see a head and shoulders, couldn't see any eyes. Like it was just a black silhouette, and it was looking down at us. And I was like, holy crap, I look like a little kid standing next to this thing. So again, I mean, I hear there are all kinds of caverns over here in this area. This is all limestone, these rocks over here, if they'll let me turn. So this whole area, these mountains behind here are all essentially limestone. So, and makes me think that there could possibly be something there. And we had all kinds of activity. We had activity here where rocks are being thrown over at us, just little pebbles, nothing, nothing bad. I'm pretty sure it wasn't just juvenile. So I threw a rock back at it, tossed it back in, and it stopped, which kind of sucked. I shouldn't have done that. But we also had sightings down here all along this road. All along this road, we would see by the trees, by the clumps of trees, we would see them like standing next behind a tree or trying to stand behind some of these trees. And essentially, they were so big that you could basically, let me see. Oops. See if I can find some of these trees. Come on. Again, there's our blurred spot. It's way back here. Hold on a second. Because those are the two trees I want to show you. Okay. So this is the opposite direction. But we could see one standing behind this tree one time. And then we could also see one standing over behind this tree. And essentially, as soon as we kind of were walking down the path this way, we saw it move this way, probably overstep this barbed wire fence that's about 4 feet off the ground and go out this way. I think they were just watching us, waiting for us. We've also seen them on these trees, and we've seen them go again this way, where you see the green foliage. That is the creek. So, anywho, okay, let me get back up to where we were. And I'll have a few more stories and then I'll shut up. All right, let me find the mine is there. Mine is right about here. So we're going to go down. Trying to figure out where the trees grow over. We're not very far from that. Okay. So there's an area I can't unfortunately go down in here. I don't think it'll let me. Nope. Okay. So there's an area over here. We call it where the trees grow over. And we believe that somebody was actually hung up here. And so, as I was talking in my podcast earlier, I was up here one night, and this is where my scariest Bigfoot encounter happened. So stupidly, I creeped down here, and I left a trail cam down in this area because I think that I thought that they were using this creek as a highway, and I proved myself right. They were cruising down this hallway, down this riverbed, because it's number one, hard rocks. There's a lot of rocks and hard dirt, so you don't really leave footprints. Also, it's down in an area, if you're not, standing up in this area somewhere, you can't see down in there. So if you were walking on this road, you couldn't see them. There's no way. So anyways, let's get back to what I was talking about. So I left the trail cam there. I got a couple of Bigfoots possibly on trail cam. And this is the story of, I call them the twins. I also call them the bouncers. These things are, God, they got to be 5-6 feet wide. They're not very tall, maybe 7-8 feet tall. And they're just big, burly Sasquatches, if you will. So in this area where we kind of walk through, you can kind of see the path going through here, and you can see the trees overgrowing over the path. At night, this would look like just like a tunnel, a black tunnel. A lot of people were kind of afraid to walk through this area. And so what we would do is we would essentially come up here and do EVP sessions and stuff. I'm going to make this a little shorter than I originally did. So I was doing an EVP session. I looked over on this side of the road, and I kept hearing like growling. And I just thought it was a mountain lion. I had seen mountain lions come across the trail and jump over the fence here and continue on their way before. It was nothing new for me. So essentially, that's what I thought it was. So I didn't turn my back to it. I kept the camera facing me, and then I started hearing over here, one of the bushes started to move, and I heard grunting. And every time the bush would go back and forth, this bush must have been 6 feet wide and maybe about 6 or 7 feet tall. And the branches there start going back and forth, like something's whipping this thing around. And it wasn't windy at all. And then I hear this, this grunting going on. So essentially, this Bigfoot was standing behind this tree, or this brush, and basically moving this plant back and forth, this bush back and forth. And this lasted probably anywhere from 30 seconds to a minute. I had the video camera on it. Excuse me as I cough. So I had the video camera on it. I had night vision. I had night vision lights with me, but they just weren't strong enough to capture it. And this thing darts this way. It darted down this way, and then basically started out this way. So I'm like, crap, I just got a Bigfoot on camera. I thought I had just captured a Bigfoot, right? So I was all excited. I'm like, I'm going home. I just, just got the $1 million shot, right? And then basically, so I turned the camera off, turned the audio recorder off, put my K2 back in my pocket, and I start walking back up this trail. As I got to right about here, there's an embankment that comes down. It's probably overgrown now. I was right around here. And there's an embankment that kind of slopes down all the way down to the ground. It's where this thing was is probably 2 or 3 feet off the ground. But it's like somebody took a bulldozer and just bulldozed right past this. It's like a dune. And then this slopes, of course, this has elevation gain going up this way into the mountains, of about 30 or 40 feet once it gets over to this area. This is just a big forested area. Oops. Excuse me for knocking the mic. So essentially what happened was, as I was walking back, I was walking real close to the edge of the trail. For some reason, I wasn't paying attention. I think I was working on my, I'm pretty sure I was working on my camera. I was just turning it off completely. And all of a sudden hear a grunt. I'm like, uh-oh. I glance kind of to my left. Out of the corner of my eye, I see these 2 red eyes, and this thing just crouched down. And it's got to be 3, 4, 5 feet tall, crouched down. And it's huge. It's super wide. And the thing was just sitting there. And that scared the living bejesus out of me. I mean, I was literally, a foot, maybe 2 at most away from it. And I never heard it go down there. I never heard anything. And so I'm like, oh my God. So I didn't see anything. I didn't run. I took about 6 more steps and finally got up the courage to turn around and look. It was gone. Nothing there. I'm like, what the hell was that? And of course, as I turned back around, there's a shadow person standing right in front of me, which almost gave me a heart attack. But yeah, and then I started laughing as I was walking. Oh, you got me, scared me. I'm sure that spirit was like, I got him. Anyway, so I kept walking back down, walking, all the way back down around here, all the way back here. And as I was walking all the way through this whole area, whatever that was sitting there followed me. And it kept like rustling the bushes, and tree branches were getting snapped. It was like it was just trudging through the woods, didn't care what was in front of it. It was just following me. It wasn't until I got almost to here where I saw that one cross the road that stopped. But I kept feeling like I was being watched the whole way out. So I came back down here, came all the way down here. We couldn't park up by the gate because you can only park there till 10. So I'd walk all the way back down here to where Baker Canyon is. And essentially that's here. This is where I used to park. And essentially I had to, actually it was further down than that. It's here. Here's where I was. So basically I was parked all the way down here. And I was just beside myself. I was so scared. That's the first time I've ever been scared of Blackstar Canyon. I didn't feel comfortable, and I was like, holy crap, that thing could have just grabbed me. It could have grabbed me and I would have been gone. Nobody would have known. Because when I was in Blackstar Canyon, I was out there from anywhere from 4 p.m. in the afternoon till sometime, I arrived later, of course. Sometimes I went out there at midnight, 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. And I was out there till 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning sometimes. And nobody else out there. Nobody. Nobody for miles. I could have screamed bloody murder and nobody would have heard me. And, so Anyways, and with poor cell reception. So yeah, I mean, crazy place. I took a lot of risk up there, especially being out there by myself at night. I was always prepared in case something happened. I always had a first aid kit and all kinds of other stuff in case I had to, limp my way out or got a cut or whatever. But like I said, if anybody's interested in the Blackstar Canyon area and they want information, let me know. Message me down in the comments down there, or you can contact me. If you go on our website, you can find our information, our phone number and our cell number. I'm sorry, our phone number, which is my cell number, or you can text me, or you can email me from there. So yeah, just a really cool place. I don't want to let this video go on too long, but it has everything. It has shelter, it has cover, it has food. There's deer and all kinds of wildlife in this area, and then of course water. Even now, it still has water. Um, and there's other little lakes and stuff up in this area. I used to do a lot of research. There was a lot of other reports. This whole area has reports. I don't know if I said this, but it was the race track or this what they call it, the Speedway Monster or something like that. A Bigfoot was seen out here, and then also down there's a golf course right in this area, and a Bigfoot seen crossing across the 91. And again, this has like 8 or 9 or 12 lanes of traffic. I don't know what it is now because of all the construction, but coming across here. So I'm pretty sure they were migrating across over here onto these hills. And then there's just reports in all these mountains out here. There's reports of seeing them, but I wanted to kind of touch on that. All right, guys, this video is getting a little bit long, so I'm going to go ahead and stop this video. You guys have a great night. Thanks for listening.